For most of my life, I believed that trust was the foundation of love. Without it, a relationship was nothing more than two strangers pretending to care. For 6 years, I thought my wife Emma and I had that trust. We met in the most ordinary way possible at a small coffee shop near the office where we both worked. I still remember the first time I saw her. She was sitting by the window, sunlight falling across her face, reading a book and stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. I wasn't the type of man who approached strangers. But something about her calm presence made me feel like I had known her for years. So I walked over. "Excuse me," I said nervously, "is that seat taken?" She looked up and smiled. And in that moment, my life changed. Emma was warm, funny, and incredibly intelligent. She had a way of making people feel comfortable around her. Conversations with her felt effortless. Hours passed like minutes. What started as coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into long evening walks. And before I knew it, she had become the most important person in my life. 2 years later, I proposed. She cried. I cried. Even the waiter cried. It felt like the beginning of something beautiful. And for a long time, it was. Our marriage wasn't perfect. No marriage is. But we supported each other through everything. When I lost my job during a company downsizing, Emma was the one who stayed up late helping me update my resume. When her father passed away unexpectedly, I held her while she cried for hours. We were partners. Teammates. Best friends. At least, that's what I believed. Looking back now, I realize something strange. The cracks didn't appear suddenly. They appeared slowly. Quietly. Almost invisibly. Emma began asking unusual questions. At first, they seemed harmless. Do you think men and women can really stay loyal forever? Or, why do you think so many husbands cheat? I always answered honestly. Because they're stupid, I would joke. She would laugh, but something in her eyes looked uncertain. Then there were the little tests. One night she asked casually, "If a really attractive woman flirted with you, what would you do?" I laughed. "I'd tell her I'm married." Emma smiled, but it looked forced. Sometimes she would take my phone playfully and scroll through my messages. Not aggressively. Just casually. Like she was curious. I never had anything to hide. So it never bothered me. But deep down, something felt off. Like she was looking for proof of something that didn't exist. The real trouble started because of her best friend, Lena. Lena was the exact opposite of Emma. Where Emma was calm, Lena was wild. Where Emma was thoughtful, Lena was impulsive. And Lena loved attention. She was the kind of woman who walked into a room and immediately made sure every man noticed her. Tight dresses. Confident smiles. Bold jokes. I never disliked her. But I never fully trusted her either. There was something about her that felt dangerous. Emma adored her though. They had been friends since college. So Lena was always around. At parties. At dinners. Even at our house sometimes. One evening, Emma told me something strange. "Lena might stop by tomorrow," she said casually. "I'll probably still be at work when she arrives. Can you let her in?" "Of course," I said. It seemed completely normal. At least at the time. The next evening I came home around 6. Emma had texted earlier saying she might be late because of a meeting. So I didn't think much about it. About 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, Lena was standing there. But something felt different. She was wearing a tight green dress. Much more revealing than usual. And the way she looked at me made my stomach twist slightly. "Hey," she said with a playful smile. "Emma said I could come over." "Yeah," I replied. "Come in." We sat in the living room talking casually. At first, everything felt normal. Just small talk. Work. Movies. Random jokes. But slowly, the atmosphere changed. Lena moved closer on the couch. Her voice became softer. More playful. Then she said something that made my chest tighten. "You know," she said, smiling slightly, "Emma is really lucky." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She leaned a little closer. "I mean, you're a good man. Most husbands aren't like you." Something about the way she said it felt wrong. Very wrong. Then she placed her hand gently on my arm. "Tell me something," she whispered. "Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be with someone different?" In that moment, something inside my mind clicked. Suddenly, all of Emma's strange questions, all her curiosity about cheating, all her little tests, made sense. This wasn't random. This was planned. This was a trap. And in that moment, I realized something that hurt far more than anger. My wife didn't trust me. Not at all. The trap gets deeper. The moment Lena placed her hand on my arm, something inside my mind became very clear. This wasn't a normal visit. This wasn't friendly conversation. This was a test. And the worst part wasn't Lena's behavior. The worst part was realizing that my own wife had planned this. For a few seconds, I didn't say anything. I simply looked at Lena. She was watching my face carefully, almost like a scientist observing an experiment. Waiting to see what I would do. Waiting to see if I would fail. I slowly moved my arm away from her hand. "Lena," I said calmly, "I think you should stop." She tilted her head slightly and smiled. "Stop what?" "You know exactly what." She leaned back into the couch, crossing her legs slowly. "You're imagining things," she said playfully. But the smile on her face said otherwise. For a moment, the room became quiet. I could hear the ticking clock on the wall. Tick. 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 My mind was racing. Was Emma somewhere nearby watching? Was this being recorded? Was Lena going to lie about what happened? The more I thought about it, the more uncomfortable I felt. Then Lena spoke again. "You know," she said softly, "Emma has always been insecure." That sentence caught my attention immediately. "What do you mean?" "She always wonders if you're too good for her." I frowned. "That's ridiculous." Lena shrugged. "Maybe. But she thinks one day you'll realize you could do better." I shook my head slowly. I married Emma because I love her. Not because she was the best option. Lena stared at me for a moment. Then she slowly leaned closer again. "But what if," she whispered, "someone else gave you the chance?" That was enough. I stood up from the couch. "Lena, this conversation is over." She looked slightly surprised. "Relax," she laughed. "It's just harmless flirting." "No," I replied firmly. "It's not." I walked toward the kitchen to create some distance. But Lena followed. When I turned around, she was standing very close. Too close. "You're a really loyal guy," she said quietly. "But loyalty can get boring sometimes." I looked directly into her eyes. "No," I said calmly. "Loyalty is the only reason marriages survive." She stared at me for a few seconds. Then suddenly, she sighed and stepped back. "Well," she said with a small smirk, "I guess you passed." My stomach dropped. "Passed what?" But before she could answer, the front door opened, and Emma walked in. She looked nervous. Her eyes moved quickly between me and Lena. "Hey," she said awkwardly. The silence in the room felt heavy. Then Lena smiled and clapped her hands once. "Well," she said casually, your husband is officially loyal." Emma looked relieved. Actually relieved. Like someone who had just been waiting for exam results. And in that moment, something inside my chest broke. "You planned this," I said quietly. Emma hesitated. "Well, it wasn't exactly like that. You sent her here to flirt with me." Emma crossed her arms defensively. "I just wanted to be sure." Those words hurt more than anything Lena had done. "Sure about what?" "That you wouldn't cheat." I stared at her in disbelief. "After 6 years of marriage, you still needed proof?" Emma avoided my eyes. "You don't understand." "No," I said slowly. "I think I finally do." The truth hit me like cold water. This wasn't about curiosity. This wasn't about a harmless test. This was about trust. And my wife didn't have any. Not even after years together. Not after everything we had been through. To her, I was still a suspect. Still someone who needed to be tested. Evaluated. Proven. Like a stranger. Lena sensed the tension and slowly grabbed her purse. "Well, my work here is done," she joked awkwardly. Neither of us laughed. She looked at Emma. "You owe me dinner." Then she walked out of the house, leaving us alone. Emma looked at me nervously. "You're overreacting," she said. "It was just a little test." I laughed. But there was no humor in it. "A little test?" "Yes," she said quickly. "And you passed." "That's not the point." She frowned. "Then what is the point?" I took a deep breath. "The point is, you thought I would fail." Emma opened her mouth to respond. But no words came out. The silence between us felt heavier than anything we had ever experienced. For the first time in our marriage, I didn't feel like her husband. I felt like someone she never truly believed in. And in that moment, I realized something painful. A marriage without trust isn't a marriage. It's a trial. And I was tired of being on trial. Emma stepped closer. "Look," she said softly, "I just needed reassurance." I looked at her for a long moment. Then my hand slowly moved to my finger. Where my wedding ring was. Emma noticed immediately. Her eyes widened slightly. "What are you doing?" But I didn't answer. Not yet. Because the decision forming in my mind was about to change everything. Emma's eyes were fixed on my hand. Slowly, carefully, I slid the wedding ring off my finger. It felt strange. That ring had been on my hand for 6 years. 6 years of memories. 6 years of promises. 6 years of believing that the woman standing in front of me trusted me as much as I trusted her. But now it felt heavier than ever. Emma's voice shook. "Why are you taking your ring off?" I looked down at it for a moment. The small circle of gold reflected the light from the living room lamp. So many memories were inside that ring. Our wedding day. The vows we made. The promise that we would believe in each other. But now that promise felt broken. Emma stepped closer, panic slowly appearing on her face. "Stop being dramatic," she said nervously. "It was just a test." I looked at her calmly. "A test?" "Yes," she replied quickly. "And you passed." Those words echoed in my head. You passed. Like I was a student. Like she was my teacher. Like our marriage was nothing more than an exam. I slowly closed my hand around the ring. "Emma," I said quietly, "do you know what hurts the most?" She didn't answer. "The fact that you believed I might fail." She shook her head quickly. "No, that's not what I meant." "But it is," I replied. "You didn't trust me." Emma rubbed her forehead nervously. Everyone tests their partner sometimes, she said. No, I replied firmly. They don't. She looked frustrated. You're making this bigger than it is. Am I? I took a slow breath. Emma, if you trusted me, you wouldn't have needed Lena to seduce me. Her face turned red. She wasn't trying to seduce you. I raised an eyebrow. She literally asked me what it would be like to be with someone else. Emma stayed silent. Because she knew I was right. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. The quiet in the room felt heavy. Finally, Emma whispered. I was just scared. Of what? That one day you'd cheat on me. I stared at her in disbelief. After everything we've been through, you still think I'm that kind of man? She looked down at the floor. I've seen it happen to so many people. So you assumed I would do the same? I didn't assume, she said quickly. I just wanted proof. That was the moment something inside me finally broke. Emma, I said slowly, love isn't something you prove every day. She looked up. Then what is it? Trust. She didn't respond. Without trust, I continued, love becomes a prison. Her eyes filled with tears. I said I was sorry. But the problem wasn't the test itself. The problem was what the test meant. It meant she never truly believed in me. I looked at the ring in my hand again. Then I gently reached forward. Emma frowned. What are you doing? I placed the ring in her palm. Her hand trembled slightly. Keep it, I said quietly. Her face turned pale. What? I looked directly into her eyes. If you need to test someone's loyalty. I paused for a moment. Then you never trusted them to begin with. Emma's voice cracked. You're not serious. I nodded slowly. I am. Tears rolled down her cheeks. You're ending our marriage over this? No, I said calmly. I'm ending it because you turned our marriage into a test. She grabbed my arm desperately. Please don't do this. But my decision had already been made. For years I had loved her with complete honesty. But love cannot survive where trust does not exist. I gently pulled my arm away. Emma's voice broke completely. I was just afraid of losing you. I stopped near the door. Then I looked back at her one last time. The saddest part, I said quietly, is that your fear of losing me is exactly what made you lose me. The room became silent. Emma stood there crying. Still holding the wedding ring. The same ring she had placed on my finger years ago. But now it was back where it started. In her hand. I opened the door slowly. Before leaving, I said one final thing. Next time you love someone. I paused. Trust them enough not to test them. Then I walked out. And this time, I didn't look back. Life lesson. A relationship cannot survive constant suspicion. Love needs trust, not tests. Because the moment you start testing someone's loyalty, you might discover something worse than betrayal.